Welcome to EP Daily. Today on the show, we awaken the latest from the galaxy far, far away.
Plus, we head to 19th century London to bring you our review of Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
And then Bradley Cooper's new movie might be burnt to a crisp in our review.
Double of everything, two of everything. Yes, sir.
Also coming up, an adorable robot tries to grow home on consoles. Bill Murray rocks the Kasbah, and much more today on EP Daily. Brought to you by EB Games. I'm your host, Victor Lucas, bringing you the latest and everything cool every single day. The Force is calling you. Just let it in. Oh, and the Rundown is calling you, too. Star Wars The Force Awakens is so close, we can almost touch it. Earlier this week, Disney released the first full theatrical trailer for the highly anticipated film. We still don't know too much about the actual plot, but the new footage does show off plenty of the sweeping action and original trilogy nostalgia that you knew would be there. There's new glimpses of the newcomers, but very little of returning heroes Han Solo and Princess Leia, and absolutely nothing of Luke Skywalker. I guess that means there will still be plenty of secrets to learn when audiences sit down to watch the film on December 18th. Princess Leia may be missing from the latest Star Wars trailer, but she won't be missing from the brand new Star Wars Battlefront video game. Developer DICE has revealed that Princess Leia, Han Solo, and Emperor Palpatine will appear in the game as playable heroes and villains alongside already revealed characters like Luke and Darth Vader. Star Wars Battlefront recently completed an open beta test that saw more than 9 million players, which publisher EA says was the biggest in its history. The dev team is now tweaking the game based on some of the feedback they've received. Most notably, they admit that the Walker assault on Hoth needs to be rebalanced because it was too easy for the Imperial side to win. The final version of Star Wars Battlefront arrives November 17th. It's an all-Star Wars festival today. Here to help me with that is Marissa Roberto. It is kind of Star Wars week with all of this madness happening after the trailer and the incredible new poster that's out there. Let's talk about Battlefront first, though. The beta was fantastic to get back into it, and I felt like I knew everything, so I was doing pretty good. I was
you had like a leg up on everybody else.
I did. I was always up every time I played. I was like, I'm usually in the middle, but I was always up like 3 or 4 from the top, so I was like, okay.
Oh, you know what? That's pretty nice, because when I played, I was near, like, usually the bottom, second to last, but mostly last. I just get my ass handed to me with this stuff.
Big time, and all the stuff that we talked about when we did the Battlefront beta special when we went out to Stockholm was absolutely true when the beta dropped. Nobody knew what to do on the Rebel side. They were all trying to just take out stormtroopers.
Well, I think that's pretty accurate. I feel like they would be next to impossible to take out.
And they won in Empire Strikes Back. So I kind of feel like people shouldn't complain. They should just work together to do the best that they can.
Sure, well, I'm still going to complain, but, you know, it's accurate, so I really shouldn't be.
Well, I hope they don't sort of go too far in the other direction. I hope they don't make it too easy for the Rebels to win, because
I like easy.
The Imperials crush the Rebels on Hoth, and that just is the way it goes. Now, that was the legend of Star Wars from the original trilogy, and it sounds like the original trilogy is going to be referenced as storytelling in the new Star Wars movie. It's going to be this fable, I guess, for the new cast members.
We don't know. I mean, it can all tie together beautifully, and I hope.
Well, the trailer looks freaking incredible. I mean, visually, it just looks amazing. We don't really get to see too much story, which I think is terrific.
You just wanted more Harrison Ford.
I did want more Harrison Ford, but we get some great narration from him and some, you know, some great gravitas. I liked all of that, and I really love that John Boyega is holding the lightsaber. Suddenly, we understand that this guy is going to be a lot more important to the story than just a stormtrooper that has guilty feelings.
No, it looks amazing.
And yeah, it really does. Well, we don't have long to wait now. The trailer is a good taste, a good little morsel. I am incredibly excited. I don't know if I can be more excited.
We can get more excited. I feel like we can get there.
I am pretty damn excited. I'm freaking out for this movie.
I'll bake cookies.
Now, we also saw a different type of movie this week. It's called Burnt. Here's our review.
When I see a name like Bradley Cooper on the ticket, I feel like I should be along for the ride. So I was excited to jump into this one. We were talking about Burnt.
Show me. No, same time. Same time.
He plays a chef, a very angry chef, a little Gordon Ramsay-esque.
A little Anthony Bourdain and Gordon Ramsay kind of mixed together.
So we've seen this kind of chef before. Maybe it's a chef thing. I mean, you and I have both worked in restaurants growing up, so we've seen people and their personalities.
I still have waitering nightmares.
Right, of course. So this is what we're doing. We're following Bradley Cooper's character. Really, he's come back from the dead, so to speak.
Adam Jones. Thank God. One hoped you were dead.
He's had a lot of problems in his life, and he's wanting to come back and get his 3rd Michelin star.
Yes.
It's very difficult to get just 1. He has 2. Now he's going for the triple, so he's going for the trifecta.
We all know, which is a big problem with the movie, because if you're going to go see a movie about a chef, you already know about Michelin stars.
Yeah, you do.
And this movie just really tries so hard to make us care about this guy chasing his Michelin stars, but also to kind of appeal to the masses with this stuff. But cooking movies, I don't think they're the groundbreaking, huge box office blockbuster type things ever. And the fact that it kind of stops to say things like, I want my cooks to be like the 7 Samurai, and that guy could cook gravel, and just stupid cliche lines like that all the way through the thing, and this fact that they stop to explain what the Michelin stars are to the wait staff at this fancy restaurant.
Do you know about the Michelin?
It is a book. It is the book, Jana. The Bible.
We have all these actors that are perfect ingredients. They are perfect ingredients to make a good movie.
Right.
But unfortunately, if the recipe doesn't work, it's not going to be a good dish. And I don't think that this movie is a very good tasting dish, although really these are quality, these are fine ingredients here. We have Emma Thompson in this movie.
Absolutely, and Daniel Bruhl, who's a terrific actor as well. And I don't think it's the performers per se. I think everybody really tries hard. I think Bradley Cooper goes to some pretty good heights as being a complete jerk.
Look, Mr. Jones, I just want to say, you've always been a hero of mine. We studied your menus and recipes. And
A hero or a god?
But the silliness of the overall plot and the story structure and the terrible script around all of those scenes just doesn't serve that fire and that fury. And you just end up thinking this is all just a waste of time and a waste of money.
It is. I was into it in the beginning. I was excited because there's food, there's Bradley Cooper, there's Sienna Miller. My God, this movie's so good. And guess what? It wasn't. It just wasn't. I kept looking down at my legs. I kept like rolling my eyes because there's even this ridiculous love story thing going on, sort of, but it's all so cliche and you know what's going to happen. And then the women in this movie have literally nothing. There's nothing for the women to do.
When's the last time you had an orgasm that was interesting?
I mean, never, ever to discuss food with you in public.
What are you going to give Burnt?
He gets a 3.
Yeah, it gets a 3.
Like the 3rd Michelin star.
There it is, 3.5 from me.
That movie didn't quite give me food poisoning, but it left a bad taste in my mouth.
Okay,
you know when things are too burnt?
Well, let's cleanse our palate after the break with our review of Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
If the assassins had found something like this, surely Father would have known.
Hi, I'm Mike Donatelli. I'm the product director for Carbine Studios WildStar. My Star Wars memory, it's an oldie but a goodie. Back when Star Wars originally came out, I was at the drive-in movie theater. I was 5 years old. I remember laying in it's like my first memory. How odd is that? But I remember laying in the back of my parents' convertible, staring up and seeing the TIE fighter scream across, and that sound kind of just burned itself into my psyche, and that's my first memory that I can remember.
Yes, score another Star Wars memory in the bank. All right then, let's head on down to 19th century London. How's my accent? I feel like I've been working on it. I'm doing all right. Let's go to Vic and Scott now with their review of Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
It's another year, and it's another Assassin's Creed game. You can count on this like you can count on holidays. We're talking about Assassin's Creed Syndicate. This is the London-based video game that introduces 2 different protagonists. We've got Jacob and Evie Fry. What did you think, my friend?
Well, you know, I'm always exhausted, and I'm always suspicious whenever we go back to Assassin's Creed. I feel like we just got off this ship like 5 minutes ago.
And we have great history because this was one of the first games that we reviewed together. Was Assassin's Creed 1,
I blocked it out of my brain.
Okay.
But listen, so I sat down and I put my seatbelt on and I'm just rooting for this game, and I'm just like, okay, I hope this is good, because last year's Unity was
fraught with bugs.
Yeah, that was a disaster.
Lots of hands out for downloadable content money and microtransactions.
So this is supposed to be a step in the right direction, and I think it is. I think it makes a great first impression. You're introduced right from the start to Jacob and Evie Fry. They're a pair of twins who are kind of on the loose in 19th century London. London. And so they've got English accents, which sound pretty authentic.
Yes.
If the assassins had found something like this, surely father would have known.
I like the way they look. You know, Evie it seems like a nice character. I feel like Jacob's a little more cliche.
Yeah.
But once you start getting into the game, the exploration of London, this is apparently 30% larger than Paris was in Unity last year.
It's enormous, and it's also spread out quite a bit in terms of buildings, street widths, so that you can take over carriages and jump on horse and buggies and jump on all kinds of different variations of those. Some of them have lots of ornate signs and stuff on them. But they also introduce a grappling hook mechanic, which allows you to instantly jump to the top of buildings and also create zip lines so that you can get around the city a lot quicker. And you need it because the thing is absolutely enormous.
I like the characters. I feel like they're strong. One of my favorite aspects of the game is the way that historical figures, the same way Leonardo da Vinci was a historical figure of importance in earlier Assassin's Creed. Here we've got Charles Dickens.
Yep.
You know, I never asked your names.
We've got Florence Nightingale.
Yeah.
We've got Charles Darwin. And I love
Karl Marx.
We got Karl Marx in there.
On a mission with Karl Marx yesterday. I know, it's nuts. And Alexander Graham Bell, whose great mission, which you sort of get roped into, is to kind of bring freedom of speech through his technologies.
Oh, comes apart.
But the only real problem is that the taste of Unity is still in our mouth. The idea that Assassin's Creed is a yearly thing and they're this large and they're this ambitious is starting to feel a little exhausting, and there's no way around that.
There is something they could do about it, and that is they could just take a year off every now and then. Even this game, I think if you put it in a vault, locked it up at Ubi, and took it out a year later, even though the technology would be a little aged, I still think it would be much more relevant.
For me, and this has been true ever since I saw the first reveal trailer, it feels like Guy Ritchie made an Assassin's Creed game.
That's right, that's accurate.
Which I love Guy Ritchie stuff. I know you're not a big fan, and I also love London, and I do like this milieu. I like this setting. I like these characters. I think if you're an Assassin's Creed fan, you're going to have a blast with Syndicate. What are you going to give it?
7 from me, Vic.
It gets an 8.5 from me.
That was just a little taste from Jacob and Evie Fry. I'm going to get to that game myself. I can't let the boys have all the fun. We're going now to our review of Rock the Kasbah. Here's me and Vic.
I am Richie Lance. It's a real pleasure. Time for a crazy story.
Always great to see Bill Murray on the marquee. He's in a brand new movie called Rock the Kasbah. It's directed by Barry Levinson, who has brought us a number of great films, including the classic Rain Man.
Yeah.
Bill Murray was having a good time. Basically, he plays this aging music tour producer that has had some clients in the past. He's a bit of a talker, and he gets caught in this web to go on tour with his down-on-her-luck talent, played by Zooey Deschanel, doing a USO tour through Afghanistan, and he gets stuck in Afghanistan, has to figure out how he's going to survive and get back to America.
I think that we should hold on to that, though. He does get abandoned by Zooey Deschanel, which I think was a good thing, because I was not buying her character at all, like at all, because we know her so much from her character in New Girl.
There's a couple of other performances like that. Scott Conn and Danny McBride are in this movie, and they're just kind of riffing, you know, they're not really selling it. But I think Bill Murray actually has some really great beats in this, and what I really liked as well about the movie is that it gave us sort of a look inside of the Afghani culture, and we got to spend time with a Pashtani village and get to know the family of this girl that gets, for the first time in history, invited onto a television show to sing, all under the auspices of Bill Murray's management, which was kind of cool.
It was cool, but oh my God, it took forever to get there. Like, it took so long to get there. I didn't know what story was being told until that moment when he discovers this girl. So when you're sitting there in the theater not really understanding what's going on, like, sure, I guess I could have watched a preview beforehand, but why? It's more exciting to sit down and like not know the ride before you jump in. There was none of that. I just didn't know where Bill Murray was going, what he was doing. Sure, I think he's funny. He's a very charming guy. I like seeing him on the marquee, definitely.
Yeah, I liked most of the performances except for the stunt casting that's apparent in there.
Well,
Kate Hudson is kind of, I mean,
showing off her hot bod.
she's a hooker with a heart of gold again.
You work out. I'm excited for you. Thank you for showing me your hot bod. I appreciated that.
Welcome to Afghanistan.
Nice to be here.
It's not the best work ever, but it was still pretty enjoyable.
Oh, man.
What are you going to give it?
I hate reviewing these movies with you, and it's like not really good, but it's not really bad.
Well, so that happens. What are you going to give it?
I know. It's unfortunate. It's getting a 7.
It gets a 7 for me, too.
Well, Kate Hudson sure does look good in those skimpy outfits. I'm just kidding, Kate. I love you. Anyway, don't go anywhere because after the break, we've got a review of Grow Home.
So I'm going to hold up Condemned 2 Bloodshot as our buried treasure today. You're going to ask, where is the sequel to this game? And that would be a great question because the first Condemned was excellent and the Condemned 2 title was also excellent. This is not for the faint of heart. It's incredibly violent. It's incredibly visceral. You do feel like you are in constant peril in this game. The graphics are solid, but it's really the audio design and the sound effects. You are fully creeped out in this thing all the time. They also have some pretty cool detective-type mechanics in here as well. You're trying to uncover the mysteries of why has everybody turned into a freak that's out to kill you. And there's all kinds of weapons that you can pick up from all around the world. And it does feel like a game that's just littered with option and choice and tons of danger. It's something that you absolutely should search out and check out, especially if you're a fan of things like The Walking Dead, which I know all of you are. Condemned 2 is definitely a buried treasure.
Oh, that is a horrifying buried treasure, Victor Lucas. Are you kidding me? Condemned? That game still gives me nightmares, and I only played it for about 10 minutes. We're going to go now to a review of Grow Home. This game came out earlier on the PC. Now it's on the PS4. Check it out.
Grow Home is what happens when you get a small group of developers together and they work on like a little pet project internally, and that's what Ubisoft Reflections did with Grow Home, where you play as a little robot trying to grow a giant star plant. Jose, what do you think?
This was one of those games that was on the, if you're a PlayStation Plus member, it's free, so I jumped right on it because I always do that. Every month you got to check to make sure what's free and what's not.
Might as well if you're paying for it.
You know what I mean? And so I jumped in, I'm like, okay, I like this. Cute little robot design. You play as Bud, a botanical utility droid.
BUD. The
BUD. The one thing I'm not really a big fan of is the constant mechanic of left arm, right arm, left arm, right arm. To get around and climb things, you have to physically do that.
Tactile feedback.
Over and over, and so it's like climb, 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 climb,
It
climb,
is a climbing game, so if you're wondering. It's like a platforming adventure, and it's very vertical. I don't even think I've played a game where you're constantly, it's like Jack and the Beanstalk, you're just growing all these stalks and you're trying to climb it, and if you slip and fall, it's a long way down. And I love the little messages that Mom, M-O-M, who's giving you these little messages. Like every time I die, she's like, oh, nice try, dear. You know, do that.
You did well.
Yeah. Next time I could just picture her voice, like.
You tried really hard that
she's
time.
Like, I made an animated GIF of you exploding many times. I'm like, thanks, Mom. Yeah, real encouraging.
Yeah, and so you're traversing this world and you're connecting all of these plants from this giant main plant to these huge glowing nodes that will give it more power, which will be able to go higher and higher and higher. You're also collecting crystals within the world too, so you're unlocking things like a jetpack and then a stronger jetpack. That's just pretty much as far as I got. I connected about 50 of these things. I needed 60 to get to the next one before I finished it because it's also a very short game.
Yeah, it's not that long. It's pretty easy to finish, and you can actually go around and explore and collect. So you have these little teleportation devices, which are save points. It's actually nice because every time you fall and die, you just respawn at the next checkpoint. But any progression that you've made also gets saved, so it's not like you have to go back and redo everything. So as you're climbing these stalks, and you have to like climb to the end of this nub, and it grows. And it's very, phallic. It's like heading toward this floating island, it stabs into it, and you get to control the stalks and where it goes. So sometimes, depending on where you're facing, then it's gravity, obviously, and then sometimes I'm just like going all over the place and my stalk's growing like this, and the whole world is designed based on how you grow each stalk. So Grow Home is like one of those interesting experiments that I don't think a large studio would go after, but I think it's a unique idea, and I had a lot of fun with it. What are you gonna give it?
I wish there was more to the overall experience, but I still had a good time. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10.
I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10.
Thanks for the review there, Sophia and Jose. Appreciate that. Don't go anywhere because after the break, Scott's got another one of his spooky movie stories.
If you want more EP, go to our website, epn.tv, for bonus content and full episodes. We're also on Facebook and Twitter.
Boo! Scatty movie time once again. Today we're talking about a movie called The Orphanage, and I dare you to watch this. It's not directed by Guillermo del Toro, but it is produced by him. It is a Spanish language film. It takes place in a house that used to be an orphanage. There are some haunting type things going on in here, some of which are some of the best haunting type scares I've ever seen. I like the sense of place and ownership that the film has with the house itself. I like how the film kind of keeps finding new parts of the house to explore, and it will continue to do that right up until the very end. There's just one piece of gore in this entire experience, and it is incredibly upsetting, and it really kind of makes you appreciate the restraint that the filmmakers had when making this film. They didn't go over the top, lots of beheadings and everything, but the little bit that's in there is something you'll never forget. The Orphanage is my dare to watch movie of the day.
Very special spooky story from our friend Scott. So many S's.
Spooky scary.
All right, let's have our Twitter question of the day. This one is from Josh Alanin. If we have Scott's scary stories for Halloween, will we have Marissa's merry movies for the Christmas season?
Merry movies,
That's
sure,
pretty
yeah.
cool.
I'll tell you them right now. Love Actually.
Okay.
#1.
Yeah.
Also, Trailer Park Boys Christmas Special.
What?
It's a really good movie. I feel like everybody out there, you have access to it. Watch it. It's one of my favorite all-time Christmas movies. Also, Christmas Vacation.
And what about A Christmas Story?
Yeah, all right.
All right. And Home Alone is kind of a
Yeah,
Christmassy
Home Alone
movie?
for sure. Home Alone for sure. I'll come up with an official list, but like I'm telling you, those are going to be at the top.
Scrooged? There's some great ones. All right.
All right.
Good question. If you've got one for us, you want to get caught up on EP, go to epn.tv.
We've got more coming for you in the next episode of EP Daily, including a new look at the enhanced version of Divinity Original Sin.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
EP would like to thank its sponsors, Nintendo, Xbox. EP's mobile coverage is brought to you by Gameloft, makers of Asphalt 8 Airborne, which you can play on your Android or iOS device for free right now.
It's been a very intense operation, I mean, because there's no game like this on console, actually. It's never been done. We looked, and we couldn't find anybody who was doing something like this, so we didn't have a template to look at. But we think we did a pretty good job at it, and we see people, they pick it up, and like within a minute, they know how to play it, so it means it's very accessible now.